Welcome to Out of the Parx with John Marks. I'm your co-host, Sam Stafford, alongside, of course, John Marks and the one, the only Maniac Malloy. Maniac, tell him what to do.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe like your life depends upon it. Like my life depends upon it. Like and subscribe.
Oh, man. We felt the passion right there. I like it. So, guys, the Phils got the win last night, 6-2 over the Brewers. They're split in the series, have a chance to win that today. But more importantly, 4 games away from clinching the division. They could clinch a playoff berth today, as early as today, with a win over the Brewers. And that would be the series win, like I just mentioned. And then to clinch a first-round bye, we're only 7 games away. To clinch the number 1 seed in the National League and to clinch home field advantage in the World Series, just 9 games away. There's 11 games left, I believe, in the season. What do you guys think about those numbers? Do you think they're possible? Do you think we're looking too far ahead?
No, this is wrap it up. It's done. This is the Phillies' time. They're unless they really fall apart here, they're going to be the number 1 team in the National League. They're going to have home field advantage. We'll see what happens in all, as far as the AL as well. But they also there's a bunch of tiebreakers, like with the Brewers. So the win last night means that they've won the season series with the Brewers, and that's the first tiebreaker head to head. So they have it over the Dodgers, they have it over the Brewers, they have it over the Mets. So even if they finish with the same record, they would then win the tiebreaker. So things are looking great, guys. Things are looking great. It was just a couple weeks ago that clips out on social media where kind of all 3 of us were like, man, how can you feel good right now as a Phillies fan? I feel good right now as a Phillies fan. I feel very
Who's
good
got
right
it better than
fan.
us? Who's got it better than us right now? Nobody. It feels really good. It feels amazing. Like John said, the change in attitude, the change in outlook for this team, it's been tremendous. Feel great. And I'm ready for some Red October baseball at Citizens Bank Park. There's nothing better. Bring it on.
October, one of the best months of the year because you get that postseason baseball, you get football. It's just perfect.
Crisp in the air.
Yeah.
You're ready to go.
Perfect temperature.
And yeah, now we just need that scoreboard watching. It feels good to be scoreboard watching right now and seeing how it all plays out here. Last 11 games of the season. 7 is the big number, right? 7. We want the first seed. What do you think, John?
Yeah, they're in. They're gonna be the number 1 seed. And here's the pledge that I made late last week. I made it on Friday, guys. I said that there's going to be no more negative John. Sam, you've been riding this for months now. Where
bye
you're like,
negative
World
John.
Series team. This is a World Series team. I have confidence they're going to do it. Maniac and I, we were wavering a little bit a couple weeks ago, but then Maniac, you put me on the spot and you said, "Is this team winning the World Series?" And I couldn't answer it. I couldn't tell you yes. I still wasn't there. All the negative thoughts are out of my mind. This team right now has a great starting rotation, has a lockdown bullpen, and they have a veteran lineup that, listen, they're going to have to produce if they're going to win a World Series, but they're capable of doing it. The negative thoughts are out the window. This team is going to the World Series. I feel great about it now.
Well, and that's one thing. We'll get to the starting rotation in just a bit, but sorry. One of the things that we did mention was just getting hot at the right time. And this team is doing exactly that. They are 17-6 in their last 23 games, 91 wins after last night, the most since the 2011 season, which is kind of shocking. What is that? 12 years, 13 years ago?
Yeah.
And then Zack Wheeler, dominant last night. You have the lineup last night that just came through, and it was just, you had 2 long balls. You had Castellanos start things off. You had Bryce with a tiebreaker home run in the 6th. But then it was just like everybody was contributing here and there and just playing their part, like the baseball that you want to see. We talk about it all the time. It's a long game. It's a mental game. Just everybody contribute here and there. And that's what the beauty of baseball is. And that's the recipe of a successful team. And we're starting to see it right when it matters, which is exciting.
Yeah, and Bryce Harper is starting to hit home runs. I mean, that's the best thing to see. That's huge because if he's swinging the bat like he was swinging the bat a couple weeks ago, that's when you start to feel a little bit uneasy and worried a little bit. So that's the best and brightest spot right now is to see Harper getting that swing going. we go as far as we goes. We say it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We went a month without a home run, right? 30 days without a home run. Then he's hit 3 since then. He has 29. So when it's all said and done, it's something that you hear. I heard John Kruk say a couple weeks ago, and you hear it often. Look, turn around the baseball card. Look on the back of the baseball card. I know you have lots of baseball cards at home, Maniac Malloy.
Big time.
And because that's by the end of the season, with all the ebbs and the flows and the ups and the downs and the maddening portions and the great portions, at the end of the year, a player like Bryce Harper is going to be what says on the back of his baseball card. Now, he's not going to hit 40 home runs, but being that he was clearly laboring with some type of an injury, the fact that he's going to be batting close to 300 with 30-plus home runs again in kind of a down year for Bryce Harper, and this team's going to have the best record in the National League, and they're going to win a National League East championship. This is a great year. This is a great year. And Bryce Harper, we've been saying it for weeks. He can carry this team. He can be a big part of carrying this team. The team takes its confidence and takes its cues from Bryce Harper, and it's great that he's getting hot right now.
You mentioned carrying the team, and obviously we've said it all year long. They follow Bryce Harper's pace. But when you look at the mound, Zack Wheeler carries this rotation. We saw another gem from him last night. 77 fastballs is what he threw last night, which was by far, obviously, with those numbers, the dominant pitch. Something that's just so fascinating about that, because I feel like in such a league now, you have to pitch around hitters, right? Because you have these dynamic guys that are stars. But when you can pitch 77 fastballs and still only give up 1 earned run, 4 hits, get 6 strikeouts in 7 innings, how much does that say about Zack Wheeler and his dominance with his pitching?
He's a workhorse. I mean, he just gets up there and says, try and hit it. Like you mentioned, most guys got to nibble when they get to 2 strikes or paint. He just overpowers guys. So having him as a weapon in game 1 of the playoffs, man, you can't get it much better than this. That's what I said earlier.
Yeah, you watched the game last night. When he makes it look easy, he makes it look easy, right? His delivery's so smooth. The ball's just exploding out of his hand. He's throwing 96, 97. He's just the pace that he's working at. It's one of the best free agent signings in the city's history, Zack Wheeler. And he's on his 2nd contract now. He's been that good. We know how difficult it is to find an ace in a rotation. And it was a hell of a signing with Zack Wheeler. And he's been like, we've been joking around, and we kind of do a tongue in cheek with the Cy Young watch. Well, listen, the way he's pitching right now, Chris Sale's going to win the Cy Young, but Zack Wheeler is pitching like a Cy Young Award winner right now. And it's another good thing. We talk about Bryce Harper going into the playoffs hot. Zack Wheeler looks healthy. He looks rested. He looks ready to go. If you have him starting the first game of your series in the playoffs, the likelihood is you're going to win that series.
I was just trying to look up the Cy Young odds right now, but unfortunately it's too close. So I think they took him down. I was looking this morning, and it is down. So you can't bet on the MVP. I think the MVP odds are down, and the Cy Young is down. But to your point, our producer, Mark Feldman, just sent me the quote from Bryce Harper last night on Wheeler saying, he's the Cy Young. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what the numbers look like. He's the Cy Young. He's the best he's the best in baseball, man. And it's one of those things, and it sucks so bad just because he was so dominant to start the season. He had a little bit of a hiccup there around the middle of the season, and then now he's back when it matters. And it's one of those things. It would be nice if he wins Cy Young, or if he won Cy Young, but obviously winning is what matters. So like I'm sure would choose this team going farther than the actual Cy Young itself. But it sucks, man, because I was looking at the numbers last night. I saw that in the postgame when he mentioned that he is the Cy Young in his eyes, and they are so close. Chris Sale does have him edged out barely, but man, what a season he's had.
The only trophy that matters is the World Series for Zack Wheeler.
Exactly
so
right.
Get us to game 1. Get us that W. That's what it's like. You see him on the mound. You see him in the rotation. You're thinking win every single time, and it's wonderful to see, because at one point we had 4 guys where it felt like they were going to win every single night. Now it's down to about
2,
1.5, 2. Yeah. So,
not 4, that's for sure.
And I keep thinking about what John says and who's got it better than us right now, though. And if they really do what we were talking about last week with where they go with Wheeler, where they go with Sanchez, then they go with Nola, Then they go with Suarez, and you get that righty-lefty. That could be cooking with peanut oil, man. We're cooking with peanut oil now.
Well, I do want to ask you guys, do you have any concerns for Nola and Ranger? Both of their last starts were not pretty. Aaron Nola got lit up on Friday against the Mets, and obviously it's a rival game, so the Mets are coming out a little extra, and they've been heating up. We were talking about that. 6 hits, 6 earned runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, and just 4 and a third innings pitched for Nola on Friday.
When you say worry's a loaded word. And yes, I absolutely am worried because I've lived through this season like every other loyal Philly fan, and we've seen what can happen here. So yeah, it is concerning, but I also am kind of not worrying at the same fact because this team is what it's going to be, right? They're going to either be hot all at once or there could be feast or famine mode. And yeah, with Nola and with Suarez, you're going to have to anticipate they might give up 4 or 5 runs in a start.
Yep.
And I'm also going to be expecting our offense to break out just about every single game, putting up a crooked number. And that's what it's going to take to go all the way and finally do it. Win the World Series with this group of guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and they should. I think that they are going to go Wheeler, Sanchez, Nola, Suarez. Left, right, or right, left, right, left. Sanchez is the second best pitcher on the staff. There's no doubt about it. I don't know how he's going to react to pitching in the playoffs. It's a lot different starting in the playoffs. But with that said, that's why you want him pitching the game too, because he's going to be at home. Aaron Nola is very comfortable pitching on the road. It's not going to be a problem with him. I talked to Scott Fransky late last week on my PHLY show, and he had said that maybe if there's like a different rotation, you have a veteran that's like, what do you mean I'm the third starter? You're putting this guy starting game 2. Nola's not really going to care. He'll probably recognize I'm good on the road. This makes a lot of sense. Nola could also give up 5, like you said, Maniac Malloy. He could give up 5 runs at a start. He could give up 2 runs at a start. The pitcher that I'm most concerned about is Ranger Suarez, because even in the regular season now, the tail end, really since he's come back from the IL, and he had one pretty good start coming back, he's just struggling to get through 5 innings. Now he's making it and he's battling through it. Velocity's down. He doesn't have the same life on it. Command's down. So it feels like to me, if you put him in as a starter right now, he's getting you 4 innings or so in a start, which by the way, he's your 4th starter.
Yeah.
So you're fortunate that you have the 3 starters ahead of him that you do, and he's still going to compete when he goes out there. But if you're asking me if I'm concerned about Ranger Suarez and the way that he is pitching right now, yes, I am.
One of the things too for me that was a nice wrinkle back when we did go to the World Series was Ranger out of the bullpen. And I know it only happened once or twice, right, in that run there. But as you're watching the season matriculate a little bit, my mind started to go there of like what a weapon he could be if he is in that 3rd, 4th starter range and he is as dominant as he was in the beginning of the season. Maybe you pull him out in a short series. Maybe you pull him out in a game 7 situation. That seems like it's out the window, and that's one of the things I'm worried about because I think that would have been a nice weapon to have come playoff time, and I think they would have done it.
One thing you did mention, John, is how we don't have anything to prove that Chris Sanchez is going to be as strong in the playoffs because this is his first time there. But I think something that gives a lot of people confidence, and one thing that we might not think about, is there was, I forget exactly when it was, but one of his starts, he came out and pitched, and in that first inning got lit up. He gave up like 2 or 3 runs. You guys remember what I'm talking about? It was like
had a couple times.
Yeah.
He's had some tough starts.
And we were all so impressed with how he bounced back because he is so young. And when you get down and get blown up in the 1st or 2nd inning like he did, a lot of guys would collapse. And he came back and ended up, if he didn't get the win, the team got the win. And I remember us talking about it, how we were just so impressed with his mental ability and how he was able to just pitch throughout it. So I think that's one thing that I'm excited and expecting to see also in the postseason.
Yeah, if you're asking me about my confidence in Christopher, it's high. It's very high.
Yeah.
It's me and John have been saying it now for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We want him game 2 on the mound, in front of the home crowd. So yeah, I mean, I'm confident in the kid, and you know how much the manager loves him, Sanchi. You know, it's all shaping up to work out.
Yeah. I did hear a interesting fact last night about this lineup. So we keep saying you got to get hot at the right time. They vibe off each other. Bryce looks like he's back. But Phillies are 4-0 in games where they strike out 16 times or more. That is just a fascinating stat that they could strike out 16 times and still win the game.
4-0.
Yeah.
In all 4 of those
What does
games,
that say about the lineup, though? Because in my mind, I'm like, what's that say about us?
Well, the opposing pitchers, you got to think, man, even if I strike out 16 guys in a game, I can still catch an L. That's what this lineup is.
You miss the strike zone one time, and this team can light you up.
Yeah,
2 home runs. Trey Turner had a clutch hit late. Yeah, they're hitting situationally in big spots, and that's when they were going through their struggles. They weren't finding ways to win games. Now they're finding ways to win games. It's been impressive, the run that they've been on right here. And yeah, I mean, like, if they lose these games and they're striking out 16 times, we're going to be mad. But right now, if Zack Wheeler gives you, as he has his last 9 starts, 9 straight starts allowing 2 runs or fewer for Zack Wheeler, right? Like, I mean, geez, you're going to win most of those
dominant
games, especially when you look at this bullpen. Estevez being the closer makes this bullpen so much more formidable, because now Jeff Hoffman's your 8th inning guy. Now Strahm, Alvarado till his last appearance, he had been on a hot streak. Kerkering now, he's like your 6th or your 7th inning guy. This bullpen is stacked. So yeah, Zack Wheeler, that's the great thing. These starting pitchers are going to give you 6 or 7 innings. Forget about it. All you need is a couple runs. You can strike out 20 times if you want to.
You guys, we mentioned a few of those magic numbers. So they could clinch a playoff berth tonight, as early as tonight, and then 4 games to lock up the division. If you do the math on that, it would probably be this weekend, which it's all national broadcast this weekend. So it would not, we wouldn't hear Crucky and T-Mac up there saying it, which is kind of a bummer, but it's also in New York against the Nets at Citi Field, or Mets at Citi Field. So we saw them last weekend. We were a little nervous with that because we did go into that. The Mets were performing well. We wanted to see how they would test them. They won 2 of 3. How are you guys feeling about them going in this weekend, having a chance to lock up the division against a division rival?
Well, Maniac Malloy, and it's something, it's already Wednesday, so we kind of put the Mets series in the rear view a little bit. But you talk about, they lose 11-0. Positive John was ready to jump out of being positive John. They lose 11-0. Then on Saturday, they're behind 4-0. And it's going through everybody's mind. Like, are we really going to do this? Are we coughing up this division?
Yeah.
What the freak are they doing right now? And then they chip away. Bryce Harper has the 2 home run game. They win. And then a really, really tight, well-pitched game with Sanchez and Peterson on Sunday. That was an excellent series win. They're at home. They got to win 2 or 3, but they did. So I felt great. Eagles ruined my buzz, but I felt great heading into the week last week because the Phillies, they ended it. They ended any doubt. They ended anything that was going to be, oh my God, are we going to blow this by taking 2 or 3 from the Mets? So I feel good this weekend. I do. I feel good this weekend.
Yeah, the timing of everything is everything, right? Take care of the Mets, and in the fashion and they did it, you get clubbed on Friday night, then you do your thing Saturday, come back, win. That's nice. Take care of business in a nice close ball game on Sunday. All these things are meaningful for what's about to happen here in October. And to see him take care of business and now have the chance to clinch the NL East in the Mets Stadium, that's another one. Another box you're checking off. And I think that's what you're going to see with this group of guys. Once they start sniffing around this World Series again, dudes are going to be even more focused. And you got something to play for really, really right now. You got something to play for right now. That division means a lot to these guys. Everybody said they couldn't do it. So you're going to see them celebrate up on Citi Field, and everybody's going to be happy. Who's got it better than us?
That was one thing, John, you just mentioned it on Saturday with a 2 home run game from Bryce Harper. First home run in over a month, and he had 2 of them. And it was in such a game where they were behind and they came back to win. Is that, we say it a lot, but was that the game that changed this team around and got them back to where they need to be for the playoffs for this World Series run?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of times you look at pivot points in the season where it's like, all right, you could go down one road or you could go down the other, and this is what happened with it. Yeah, and we go back to Bryce Harper. It was one of these games where Bryce Harper said, "We're not losing this game." You go down 4-0, and I know that the final on Friday was 11-3, but that was a cheapy home run in the ninth inning. They were freaking behind 11-0, and to go down to 4-0, especially at home, where there's more pressure on the Phillies. Now it's 4-0, and you're hearing the crowd getting restless, booing a little bit. And Bryce Harper put the team on his back, and they were able to close it out. So this is one of these moments in a season that you can point back to and say that's when they got their mojo back, and it felt like it. That was, and then they come back on Sunday, and they're finding ways to win these games now, guys.
Yeah,
and that's how you win in the playoffs.
We have seen Bohm and JT now come back from their injuries this past weekend, not coming back lights out or anything. I don't think we expected that. But are you guys seeing anything that has you concerned about JT and Bohm?
I mean, you got to be concerned. These guys haven't had at bats in a couple weeks for Bohm at least. Bohm's a guy that I'm not as worried about it as JT, because JT, we've said it before, he absolutely needs reps. Bomer, maybe he's a guy that I've talked myself into. He might have used a couple days off, could have used a couple days off, so to reset and recharge and be ready to go. So he's a guy that I love. We rely on sometimes his banjo shots or dying quail every once in a while. And so once he gets his timing down, but even without having his timing on, that guy gets a lot of those hits. So I'm not worried as him as much as JT. I'm worried a little bit about him. Need to get him going here in these last 11 games. Then I'll be really feeling good.
What about you, John?
Yeah, there's enough time left to where if you're concerned about Bohm, get his timing back and everything else, is he really truly healthy? Because I think anybody that is a professional athlete at this point in time, you're looking at how many games are left. You're looking at the calendar and saying like, all right, I know I'm maybe 75%, but it's time to get back. I got to get ready. I think we saw that with Bryce Harper. He was clearly injured there over those couple weeks, and he was really, really struggling. Seems like that's over with. This team will go as far as their stars will take them. So if Bohm and JT aren't doing well at the plate, Phillies probably aren't going to win the World Series. They need them. They need contributions kind of alternating. Right now, Castellanos is hitting again, right? So it's all right if they're struggling a little bit right now, but by the end of the season, I'm pretty confident that these guys are going to turn it around.
Okay, guys, it sounds like we are bullish on the Phillies. I'm not going to say on Bohm as you guys normally say, but it's exciting. We're happy. We have that going for us. We didn't have that so much the last few weeks. We had the concern there, but it's flipping around. So now we're wrapping up the Phillies and we're going to our new.
Yeah, you got to bring us down.
We're going to the new disappointment this week, which is our Philadelphia Eagles. Absolutely brutal loss on Monday Night Football, 22-21 against the Atlanta Falcons. Most importantly, primetime Kirk Cousins. And yes, I know you're about to be boastful over there, but
I tried to tell you. I tried to tell you. So I hope you didn't bet your hard-earned cash on the Philadelphia Eagles this weekend.
I did not. I like the Falcons in the game as well, as far as the points. And game played the way that I thought it was going to. The Nick Foles home opener, Fugazi home opener in Brazil, but home opener. Yeah, the Nick Foles night. And then even when they were behind in the game, I still felt confident they were coming back. Atlanta's a feisty team. Their defense is feisty. They have Kirk Cousins at the quarterback. So what are you really afraid of? But I still am kind of like jaw-drop disbelief that they allowed the Falcons to stay in that game and then to win at the end. Inexcusable. I'm sick about it. And a loss is a loss, right? We just saw San Francisco lose, which was an upset. We saw a bunch of upsets in week 2. So some positive Eagles fans will say, well, look, San Francisco lost, Detroit lost, the Cowboys got blown out by the Saints. But the devil's in the details. This defense and this defensive line looks pathetic. And I don't know how you fix that. And this isn't about making adjustments. And no, you need players to play in this league. I don't know if they have the players on the defensive line to make a difference. It's really concerning, Sam.
That last game, I mean, that game Monday night felt like the last 8 games of last season.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're still at square one, not even build it up, because we got a Bryce Huff out there who cannot do anything. And you got Devin White, who's an inactive. And those were your 2 add-ons besides Gardner Johnson. Those were the guys you were adding to this defense to make them better. And overall, the defense really didn't play that bad, and they kept them in the game at points. But when it really mattered, it looked exactly like last year. The interception that Hurts threw reminded me of the interception last year against Seattle. And I think we're just stuck in a cycle here right now where I'm afraid we're not going to get out of it. And I think another loss is pending, waiting for you down there in the Big L, Louisiana.
Yeah, so we'll get to the Saints real quick or in a second, but I do want to mention that there were 3 big things that you mentioned that factored into that loss. So you had the Saquon drop right outside of the end zone on 3rd down, so they had to settle for the field goal. Then you had the defense all game long not really being able to stop. You're right, they didn't have a terrible game. They kept them to field goals, but watching that, it was kind of pathetic how they let them drive down the field the entire game and then at least were able to stop them before they got into the end zone, but still giving up points. And then that final drive just killed with how they just let Kirk just march right down the field. It was really pathetic. Guys were playing way too far off. And then you said Jalen's interception to end it. And I know, John, you've done a breakdown of this too with that interception that was not needed. They did not need to go down the field. So I want to know, those 3 things to me were the big 3 key takeaways, because that's what lost in the game at the end of the game. Which is your number 1 biggest disappointment out of those?
Well,
Mine's defense.
Yeah, I don't. Jalen, I think Jalen played, he had a decent game before that interception. I've seen Pat Mahomes with 20 seconds or 30 seconds left in a game come down and get plenty of yardage to kick a field goal. All they really needed from where they were when he threw that interception was another 20 yards to make a pretty makeable field goal for Jake Elliott. They needed 14 yards to get it to 60 yards, to a 60-yard field goal. We've seen Jake Elliott make that in a monsoon. Last year, was it the Miami game? What game was it? The Bills game. The Bills game. It's the Bills game.
He's the best player on the team.
Yeah, you just need to get him in position. They had 19 seconds left when they had the interception. There was 19 seconds left, so you would have had the ball 19 seconds. You could have ran another 3 plays. You still had timeouts. Throwing that ball up there, forcing that ball up there in that situation ultimately cost you the game. So you don't want to pinpoint one instance on one player. Saquon Barkley drop, that interception right there. The defense was terrible, especially on that last play. I just, as the quarterback, as the guy that's making the $50 million a year, when you look at other quarterbacks across the NFL, you go down and you win that game. To lose the game like that on the interception really, really bothers me. It was a terrible decision by Jalen Hurts. The defense stinks. I don't know what else to say. The defensive line cannot stop the run, and they cannot get to the quarterback. I had said on Monday that if they don't pressure Kirk Cousins, they're going to lose the game, and they didn't pressure Kirk Cousins, and they lost the game. But the biggest talking point of the game was whether they should have ran or thrown the ball on 3rd down. They elected to throw it. Saquon dropped it. It stopped the clock. Atlanta gets another 40-some seconds to where it gives them plenty of time to go down and score a touchdown. So as far as that, if Nick Sirianni had to do it all over again, I'm sure he wouldn't throw the ball, knowing in hindsight what happened. I didn't have a problem with the call because it worked. Saquon Barkley should have caught it. The game is over. But yeah, I think it's debatable. I can see both sides of it. I was fine with the throw. I was fine with the throw. I can see why you wouldn't want to throw it there, because you want to wind the clock. But yeah, like a couple of different instances in the game where you win if different things happen. And the Eagles found a way to lose that game. And it's unbelievable.
And I'll take away what I'm the most frustrated about with basically what you just said is there are things that are fixable, catch the ball, game's over, right? There's one thing you talked about that's not quite fixable or easily fixable. And it's just the flat out personnel from your defensive ends and your rush. You got no rush. You didn't have rush all game. Then the guy can't even play the run as well. That's not changing. That's not going away. And that's a fundamental problem from last season's team bleeding into this year. So That's where I'm the most concerned. You got to get a pass rush. If you don't have a pass rush, they're going to pick you apart. And guys like Quinyon Mitchell, doesn't matter where you picked him in the draft. He's not going to be able to stop anybody if he's got all day to run around. So that's the biggest thing. That's what you got to figure out. And that's what Vic Fangio's job is. I kept hearing it all last week. You know, why he is so special is that when there isn't a pass rush, he's going to figure out how to get one. Well, it's time to figure it out and get Derek Carr's ass on the ground as soon as possible.
Yeah, so that's talking about this upcoming week. So the defense, where do you guys think that goes? Do you think they need to bring people in? To your point, we just don't have the personnel is where I'm leaning. Do they have to, does Howie start having to make magic happen? Where do you see it getting better?
Well, so I had Fran Duffy, who used to work for the Eagles, but now he does stuff with PHLY on my show today. And he had said that some of this is just like, for example, Josh Sweat, instead of remaining on the edge and setting the edge, he's diving inside to try to make tackles, and then they're bouncing it outside. So if everybody stays in their lane, in their gap, that can help. But coaching's only going to get you so far. This is a players' league. This is a talent league. And Bryce Huff, who they're paying $17 million a year for, and has been brought in to be your best pass rusher, if you can barely even have him out on the field on running situations because he gets blasted off of the ball, that's a problem. And he better be able to sack the quarterback if he's losing as a run defender. But he's not even coming close to the passer. So Jordan Davis is supposed to be the anchor of your defense. He's supposed to be your nose tackle. You drafted him in the top 13 because he's supposed to anchor your defensive line. He hasn't done that. The Eagles are one of the worst teams against the rush in the league. Now they're double teaming Jalen Carter. So you double team Jalen Carter and you run right at the ends who can't do anything about it. And that's the formula for losing. So they got to get better as far as the coaching points. I'm just not sure that they're good enough. I'm not sure they have enough good players on their defensive line.
Yeah, and for me, you say like, where you see this going, or how do you fix this, or the only way you prove it is you get AJ Brown back and you outscore the other team. I mean, I think that's going to be the blueprint for success for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's a shame that, you know, without AJ Brown, you really cannot move the football as freely as you normally do, but that's why you're paying that man all the money you are. So normally you will have him. I don't think that anybody expected the Eagles to score 21 points in that game. I think we were definitely thinking we were going to get into the 30s, maybe put a 40 burger on them. And maybe with AJ Brown, you do. And maybe your defense then is good enough to win you a ball game and you win 38-22 or something. You know, that could be the difference. And that's, if I'm a defensive player, that's who I'm the most concerned for to get us back on the winning ways, is getting AJ Brown back into the lineup as soon as possible.
Yeah, but that's also a scary thing because you are going to come up against power defenses. You can't just outscore your opponent and think that's going to take you the whole way. So hopefully Howie's working something out and can bring some key piece in, because I agree with you guys. There are things they can clean up, but I don't think that they're going to be anything fantastic. And it is one of those things we heard all off season long. How good is this offensive line going to be? How good? Jason's retiring, blah, blah, blah. Is it possible we were focused so much on that we didn't even realize how much it was going to hit us with the loss of Fletcher?
Yeah, I was worried about the pass rush. I was worried about the pass rush, but I agree with what you just said right there. I don't think we took into account how well Fletcher Cox played last year. You can make the argument he was their best defensive lineman. Jalen Carter ran out of gas towards the end of the season, which is okay for a rookie. They haven't played a season that long. He has the entire draft process. He got drafted right to minicamp, right to training camp, and then a long NFL season. Fletcher played great. He's not there anymore. So now you look at their defensive line. Friggin' Booker, who played 9 snaps. I don't even know his first name. Booker played 9 snaps and had 3 tackles.
Yeah.
Booker. Milton
Who is
Williams,
that guy?
I think his name's Thomas Booker the fourth. But Booker and Milton Williams are more friggin' productive than Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. And Jordan Davis, more productive.
Yeah.
Jalen Carter doesn't have an unassisted tackle this year. He has not been good. The high draft picks on this team between Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter, the never how cute it used to be. Oh, the Philly Dogs. Oh, they're going to be great. They're going to be the anchor of this defense for many years. Where are we at, Philly Dogs?
Yeah, if I hear one more person telling me that he's the next Aaron Donald, I'm going to just slap him in the face. because that is just so disrespectful to the greatest defensive lineman that ever played the game to try to compare Jalen Carter to him right now, because he was a ghost. I didn't see him. I didn't see him at all out there.
Well, and John, you did
far
mention
2 games,
how
real fast, Sam. So far in 2 games, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith through 2 games, 2 solo tackles, 1 quarterback hurry, no sack.
That's a lot of beef and not a lot of tackles.
A lot of snaps.
Well, and just to go off of that too, it's not even a Georgia Bulldog, but then you see Bryce Huff, his stat line coming out, and it's zeros across the board. So that's 4 guys with what we just mentioned having nothing, and it you can't have that happen. But that's one thing. You mentioned Jalen Carter getting double teamed, and that even is one thing that we took for granted with Fletch when everybody was like, Fletch isn't doing anything, he was taking guys away. Like they had to double team him, so other guys were available to go after the ball. So that's one thing that you don't think about as much too, is sometimes when you don't hear a guy, it means that they were doing their job, and that's exactly what a lot of people are realizing, I think, right now with the loss of Fletcher. So that really sucks. Okay, Pat, I'm sorry. I kept saying we would get to the Saints. We're finally at the Saints. The Saints, we saw it Sunday. We were like, yes, you guys did the best thing ever. You upset the Cowboys for us on their home turf. It sounded like it was a Saints home game. It was awesome. It was loud. Absolutely dominated them. But then you see how the Eagles did Monday night, and you see how the Saints beat the Dallas Cowboys, who do have a good defense, at least on paper. And you realize that they ran all over the Dallas Cowboys and that good defense, and it makes you really nervous for what's about to go down in New Orleans this Sunday.
Yeah, I think the beat of the conversation was like, oh, the Cowboys are losing to the Saints, and then it's like, oh shit, we got to play the Saints. Damn it. All right. Damn. All right. And now I'm thinking about Nakobe Dean matched up one-on-one coverage with Alvin Kamara. And I'm like, no, I can already see it. I don't know. I think we're in for a long one here. Eagles are getting 3 points. They're getting 3 points on the road. Should be a dogfight. I mean,
don't think
we'll see who wants to play. And I doubt AJ Brown plays from what we're saying right now. And I said it earlier. You better have a better game plan than what you had versus the Falcons. John,
what? What was the game plan on defense? Just sit back and be helpless and just let.
Well, I mean, on offense, I'm more talking offense. Like, give the ball to Britton Covey 7 times. I mean,
but see that's the wide receiver depth on this team, and obviously Jalen needs to build up some chemistry with the other receivers. They're not even getting targets. AJ Brown's such a big loss. If they have AJ Brown against the Falcons, they win that game.
Easily.
He's a difference maker. He's an amazing weapon, right? But now you kind of turn, and remember when the Phillies and the Yankees played that series at Citizens Bank Park, and it just felt like, especially after the series was over, but it felt like that the Phillies were catching the Yankees at the wrong time, or the Yankees were catching the Phillies at the right time. Phillies were tired. They were coming off the All-Star break. Their starters weren't pitching all that well. And they got mowed down. The Phillies got crushed by that Yankees offense. Doesn't it feel like right now the Eagles defense is trying to find itself? Vic Fangio is trying to figure out, like, all right, what can I do with this defense? And they're facing an offense that is just clicking already. Has a lot of weapons. They're in New Orleans. That field plays fast. This doesn't feel like a good time to face the Saints. Later on in the season, totally different story. Right now, I don't like this game at all. This feels like a bad time to be playing the Saints.
I agree 100%. And John, you mentioned earlier that the Eagles were one of the worst run defenses in the league. They officially are, after 2 weeks, the worst run defense in the league. And exactly, you said Alvin Kamara. They have Taysom Hill in there. You have Derek Carr. They have so many rushing abilities there that this matchup just does not look favorable. And I think everybody's still just so down after that soul-crushing loss on Monday. I am not looking forward to it.
It'll be interesting to see if Devin White suits up some plays.
It will be. You have to put that in there to kind of switch something up. And John, to your point with Jalen Hurts and his targets and trying to get creative with AJ Brown, I forgot to mention that part. We wanted to see some kind of progression from Dallas Goedert this year. Why do we not see any Dallas Goedert targets? Even when Jalen does finally throw to a tight end, it's Calcaterra. It doesn't make any sense to me. What is going on with Dallas Goedert in this situation?
Is he just cooked?
I don't know.
I mean, because it's not just this year. How many times last year were we saying, why is he not seeing the ball? they're keying on AJ Brown and Devontae. You have Dallas Goedert, who's a big monster in there. I don't know. I am confused. I'm confused with this offense, and I'm confused with Jalen Hurts. I don't know if they're not getting open. I don't know if Jalen's not seeing them. I really don't know. But back to the defense for a second. Do you remember the last time? I think it was the last time the Eagles played Derek Carr. He was a Raider. Do you remember that game against the Raiders where it was systematic? We're going to go down the field 7-10 yards at a time. They set Derek Carr set a record in that game. And that's really where the Eagles season turned, because I think they started making some adjustments after that, but their defense was so bad. And it feels like, again, facing the wrong team at the wrong time. The Saints have a lot of weapons. The Eagles are struggling. The offense isn't exactly clicking right now. AJ Brown's down. So, man, I would jump. If you like the Saints, I would jump on that right now, because I think that line's going to go up, not go down.
In terms of Goddard and getting open, you see it if you watch Red Zone, if you watch other games all week. It seems like every team finds a way to have a guy wide open running down the field. Monday night, these guys, they weren't just covered or a step away from them. They had a hand on them, the whole time. And that's a credit to those guys on that defense. They are 2 all-pro safeties. They got all-pros at cornerback too, if I'm not mistaken. So that's just kind of one of those tip your cap things, but it just seemed as though they didn't have any game plan or any answer for not having AJ Brown in the lineup. And he is a guy that takes 2 guys most plays. So that's what I'm banking on in terms of, I was putting the, similarities together of how I kind of view the Phillies. They're going to either feast or famine. It's going to kind of be the same thing with the Eagles, where they're just going to have to outscore people. And I think our defense has not gotten better, except for maybe marginally from what you've seen last year. And how could they have gotten any better? The guys you signed really aren't even playing for you.
Yeah, I think
you mentioned Devin White. He was a healthy scratch. It was a $3 million free agent signing.
Yeah. I mean, oh, man, we could be in for it. I just don't want to have to hear about Nick Sirianni week in and week out. He seems like he's going to kind of come unscathed from this. This go around. People are kind of siding with him in some of his, decision makings, and not saying they're as bad as maybe people are making him out to be. But I think it's just already starting right now. This is the beginning.
So I think the biggest part of that, because I was going to ask how long Nick Sirianni has. So when you have a collapse like you did last year, and then you have a game that was as soul crushing, and that's the only word I keep using it, because it truly was soul crushing. So when that was your only game or loss so far on Monday night, and it just took everybody right back to last season. So how long do you give Nick Sirianni? Because it wasn't even just a normal loss, right? Like, it was one where it just looked like this team didn't have that passion and didn't have that strength to really just go that long run.
Yeah, I was talking about this with somebody yesterday. If they lose to the Saints in Cleveland, you know what the city gets like. You know the heat and how loud this city gets with this football team. And I honestly didn't think that Nick Sirianni had a bad game on Monday night. Now, would I have went for the field goal in the first half?
I was just going to mention.
I would have taken the points, but it's not crazy to go for it there. The Eagles have went for it plenty. Teams in the league plenty go for it. That's just what you do. The analytics say it's a little bit better than a coin flip to go for it right there. I would have kicked the field goal. Would I have thrown the ball on 3rd down late in the game? I probably would have ran it. I would have been conservative, but the play freaking worked as Saquon Barkley catches the ball. So, it's not like they were out of timeouts. It's not like that he wasn't managing the clock well. I don't think he had a bad game. Unfortunately, when you push buttons and they don't work and you lose, it goes on the coach. So that's when it works, he gets credit. When it doesn't work, he's going to take the blame. If they lose the next 2 games and they start the season 1-3, his job's on the line at that point.
And my point to it too, I agree with you. I didn't really have that big of a problem with the calls that a lot of people are bringing up, like the not going for the field goal, the Saquon thing, because they were risky. And when you have a play like that, like, yeah, there's a chance it doesn't happen. But if it did happen and go our way, everybody's happy. So I don't even have that big of a problem. It's more so that we came into the season, we liked our coordinators, and it was kind of like, what is Nick Sirianni's job here, right? And it kind of felt like he was the chief vibes officer, if you want to call it like that. But then you come out and you see these guys on Monday night, and it just looked like they didn't care. So it's just one of those things. I feel like it's just really telling on the head coach when you have a group of guys like that looks like they don't care more than the other team in their home opener with Nick Foles' retirement. I don't know. We'll see.
Just a lot of flashbacks from last season. Just a lot of flashbacks
Yeah.
from last season. And I just don't know if anything's changed. The jury's still out. Jalen hasn't played a good game in over 9-10 games, it feels. There's a lot of question marks with this team, and it could spin out of control very fast.
Quickly.
Yes. The bright spot about going into the Saints, we're all expecting a loss, right? Like we already said, it does not look good for us, especially Saints are hot right now. Their toughest part of their offense is our weakest part of our defense. So not looking good. But if the Eagles somehow come out and sneak a win, then we all are excited because
I
they
like
get to
how
win.
that just went through your brain the whole way out. Yeah.
And then we somehow get a win. Everybody's excited.
On.
We could talk our ish against the Cowboys that just got dominated by them. The only thing that's going to kill me is if they absolutely obliterate us more than they did Dallas. That's going to be a real upset.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, so let me add this to the conversation before we wrap it up with the Saints. The Eagles are a good team. I don't think the Saints are as good as they've looked the last 2 weeks. All right. I still don't believe in Derek Carr. They have some weapons on that team, but this is the same team that didn't look like this last year. And also, we see this all the time, especially in the NFL. When you have that big emotional win and then you come back the next week and you're riding a high and you think it's going to be that easy and everybody's talking about you and you're reading every tweet and
reading your press clippings.
And then you come out and the Eagles came off a loss like that. Just look out, because that's a response game. This is such a big game for the Eagles this week because, people are ready to turn. The national media is ready to turn. The fans are ready to turn. The local media is ready to turn. And the Saints are saying we're one of the best teams in the NFL. This is one of these games that the Eagles should come out and punch them in the face.
So you're saying there's a chance. And that's one thing that I don't think a lot of people are realizing too. There is a slight possibility. You would hope it never actually happens because it's a pro team. But there is a slight possibility that the Eagles came into that Falcons game thinking it was going to be a cakewalk. So
for sure.
Yeah, we all expected it as fans. So that also could have caught them on their heels. So
I did. Hey, listen,
totally
gotta get the Derek Carr. Got to make him uncomfortable. If he's not uncomfortable,
he's going to take you apart.
Making those bad decisions because that guy will throw it up there. He will make turnovers. He will make mistakes.
And
you just got to pressure him.
Just for the NFL, because they don't seem to know about it, and especially the Dallas Cowboys. If Taysom Hill is in at quarterback, he's running the ball.
Okay.
I think that's something that a lot of guys don't.
Scouting
they haven't caught on to yet, and it's kind of funny. So Eagles,
Mark,
if Taysom Hill's in at quarterback,
send it to Howie.
Yes, we need to tell Howie that one. Okay, guys, back to the Phillies. They do have a big series, 4-game series at Citi Field. Who are you taking to go out of the Parx, John Marks?
Oh, I'm riding Bryce Harper right now.
You gotta
ride him. You gotta ride him. When he gets hot and he has that look, he had a I don't know if you guys were listening to the national broadcast of it, but it was a 39% launch angle, that home run that he hit to left center. It was so high. Normally on a ball that's hit that high, it's a fly out. But that ball, boom, that's how hard he hit it. So he didn't hit the line drive laser, but he's barreling the ball right now. Bryce Harper, heavy on Bryce Harper for a home run. And Schwarber also might be due for another home run or two. So I would go with the Stars, and I'd bet Schwarber and Harper.
I like those. Schwarber's playing the role right now, just casually hanging back, letting Bryce get his time. But hey, who's to say that he's not coming back with his pal Bryce Harper? What about you?
I mean, I dug deep down for you guys, and it hit on Friday night. Francisco Alvarez, unbelievable.
You did it again.
I mean, I hate it when I'm right, but I mean, this pace is just. I'm unconscious right now. I've been just on fire. Francisco Lindor. I mean, I think he's their best player.
Mr. Smile.
I'm going to, greatest smile in the game. I think he's going to go deep. John, It's time for Marx and the Maniac. We got a great one for you tonight. I cooked this one up since we haven't been able to hit one in what seems like forever.
Right.
We're boosting the Phillies tonight. Phillies, Tigers, both to win.
Ooh.
Odds were plus 247. Now plus 350, courtesy of you, John Marks. What do you think
courtesy of that? Courtesy of Bet Parx. Thank you very much. Yes, and I was thinking about this, Maniac Boy. You should hold your pick for it, because I always pick a Philly and you always pick the other team to go out of the Parx, and you're like, you do it almost every week. You hit. It's unbelievable. Have you considered going pro and just releasing picks on a subscription basis?
Yes,
you're making money for people out there. You're not getting anything for it.
The website's being made right now. Yeah.
ManiacMalloy.com.
Done.
Okay. As simple as that.
Get your t-shirts and your picks. One-stop shop.
There you go.
I like it. Okay, guys. So we're high on the Phillies right now. Hopefully, if we come in with low expectations for the Eagles, they can boost us right back up, and we'll come in happy for both sides of the conversation next week. But thank you, everybody, for tuning into this episode. Comment, let us know what you think, like, subscribe, all that jazz, and we'll see you next week.
Let's go Phillies.
Go Birds.